how would you define the difference between security and compliance and how they come together?
So, I think what is security, right? Security is basically a set of configurations that you can actually put together in either your cloud configurations or your application and so forth. And security is never ending. I mean, you can keep going and you can never be secure, right? So you can keep doing that and that, or you could basically decide to do just some very, very basic things and then call that secure, right? I mean, should I block outbound or should I not block outbound, basically, right? I mean, these are different choices. What I think the compliance standards, as I've understood, kind of do is that they give you a prescription of what you need to do, and as for that matter, what you don't need to do. Like, for example, PCI will be very, very explicit, and okay, you need to block outbound, or you need to actually have an outbound proxy and whatnot. There is a control. Whereas SOC 2 or HIPAA, for example, if I remember, they're not prescriptive about that. They basically, secure it kind of a stuff. So I think compliance is basically, I would say, in some senses, a subset, in the sense that it would scope these controls down and say that, okay, as long as you do these things, I would certify you, or you are compliant to so-and-so framework and so forth. So that's like one way of looking at it.
Yeah, I can give you an example of the difference between compliance and security if we look at privacy, right? So if you are holding customers' data and you need to comply with privacy laws, if you're successful, which I wish you all to be, and you exceed $10 million in revenues, or have more than 50,000 users in California, or you expand into Europe, then you have to comply with CCPA and GDPR in Europe. And part of it has to do with security. Make sure that you don't lose accidentally the data of your customers. But there's also another aspect, which is your customers under the law have the right to come to knock on your door and say, hey, can you tell me what data you have on me? Can I have a copy of that data? And in some cases, can you delete that data because I'm upset and I don't want to hear about you as a service provider anymore, and I want my data deleted. That is part of the compliance that has very little to do with security. You need to be able to react to somebody sending you an email and asking, or a phone call, or entering a web form and saying, hey, can I have a copy of the data you have on me? And you only have so many days to acknowledge the receipt of that email, and you only have so many days to respond to the request. So yes, you need the security at the back end to make sure that you have not lost or distorted the data, but you need to have the procedures in place to be able to react to these things. And in banking, there's a lot of compliance that has very little to do with security. Like if you are in the payment space and you want to handle disputes because your customers are not recognizing a transaction in your mobile app, then you have to comply with something called Regulation E, which also says, hey, you have so many days to respond to a dispute. You have to provide a temporary credit back to the person, then you have to talk to the merchant. This would be another example of compliance that has very little to do with security.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to pass on this question given our company name. So I didn't think it was fair that I jumped in first. I think these guys nailed it. Like, security is kind of an ongoing exercise. Like you'll see in a more mature kind of setup, it often lives with the technology function, whereas in contrast, compliance tends to live with a legal or freestanding compliance function. So you can be good at one and terrible at the other, and vice versa, and that's absolutely true. In general, they're hand in hand. Compliance in general is meant to help you be more secure. Right. And so they're always bucketed together, but in reality, they're very different skills and practices that you have to develop simultaneously within your organization.